Hi and welcome to this Wigan Plus video. I'm Max, an associate in the interactive entertainment team here at Wigan. I'm joined today by my colleague Sara, a senior paralegal in the music team, and today we're talking about music rights in video games. So music in video games is a really core component to the whole experience, and today we're talking about, if you're a developer, what rights you're going to need to put music in your video game and how you go about doing that. So let's jump straight in. Sara, if you want to commission music in a video game, what do developers need to be aware of?
Well, I would say that the most important part they should definitely be aware of is their budget. That will determine what they can afford and to what extent they can ensure that their project comes to fruition. That budget will cover all of the rights and all of the creative. So if they're going with a top-end composer, obviously the composer will cost a lot more money. Another thing to consider is the music. If the developer wants to have orchestral music, that will cost more, and it is fairly standard that the composer's fee includes the entire recording cost. However, if the developer has some grand ideas, they might want to consider giving the composer a bit more money to cover all that expense. So I would say that first and foremost, budget is most important by far.
Brilliant. And when it comes to acquiring the rights via commissioning, is it the case that as soon as you commission that music, you own all the rights and you don't have to pay the commissioner any more money, or are there some strings attached even when you do commission the music?
Well, as is with everything, it depends. So when commissioning, obviously the goal, the best solution for the developer would be to acquire all of the rights, to ask for full assignment. That would put them in a very good position, and they could do with their game however they please. They could sell it onwards without worrying what happens to the music rights. Do they need to pay the composer? But again, with the budget, it might not be possible, and they might be forced to enter into an exclusive license with the composer. It's not the worst idea. It can be done in a relatively good way for the developer, but there are multiple angles to consider. Another thing that is really important to be aware of are the royalties. So the royalties will be determined primarily by the composer's affiliation. So if the composer is PRS affiliated, they will receive their public performance income directly from PRS, and they cannot assign it to the developer. However, in the US, the situation is a little bit different. So you could theoretically, by hiring a US composer, acquire all of the rights and not pay them any royalties. I say theoretically because a lot of composers will not agree to that. But it is a possibility. So composer's affiliation will be quite an important factor to determine what you can do with those rights.
Brilliant. So to recap, you've got to think about your budget. You've got to think, and that budget needs to include both your the creative aspect of recording, the commissioning of all of the performing artists, and then you've got the rights side of things. You've got to make sure you have the budget to buy all of the rights, and you need to check whether or not your composer is PRS affiliated or in the US, the equivalent with the rights collecting society there.
Yes, those are definitely the key terms to keep in mind when dealing with this. There are plenty of other aspects, but those are the main ones. You might also want to keep in mind what you are planning to do with your game, which platform you're planning to distribute it, how you're planning to do that, because that will also impact a lot of your deals. The more information you have, the better deal you can get with the composer.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think that leads us on nicely then to the other way of introducing music into your video game, which is licensing commercially available music instead. So if you want to license commercially available music, what does a developer have to do? Is it just a matter of go and find the applicable rights holder and say, hey, can I use this music in my video game? Or talk us through the process.
So most of the rights will be controlled when it comes to commercial music. It will be controlled by a label or a publisher. Nowadays, plenty of artists self-release, so it might be just the case of approaching an artist and asking them, but majority would be controlled by a label or a publisher. Something that started happening fairly recently. So in the beginning, you would come to the label or the publisher, give them a sum of money, and they would give you all of the rights. A relatively straightforward process. But lately they started excluding more and more rights. So first it started on the publishing side. The publishers started saying that the mechanical right won't be included, that you need to pay it on top of the fee depending on the exploitation of the game.
And for those of us that aren't familiar with the term mechanical, what does mechanical right mean?
Mechanical right is the right to copy, it's a reproduction right. So again, it depends. Depends very much on the game and how you are using it. But chances are you are going to have to pay and consider mechanical royalties, be it you or the platform where that game is being hosted. On the label side of things, what started happening recently is that they started excluding public performance right. So again, another cost to consider and put in your budget. And these things can get quite complicated. On a more general side of things, the terms that will by far be most important to negotiate for you as a developer in any sync license are first to make sure that you have the assignment right, because you might want to sell your game, for example. So you need to be able to assign all of the music rights to whomever you are selling. Another two aspects are you need to make sure that the label or the publisher cannot ask for an injunction against your game to have it taken down. That could cause serious problems. So the injunction right needs to be excluded, and you need to insist on monetary damages for any kind of breach. And the final aspect to consider is the termination right. So the label or the publisher cannot retain their right to terminate the license without you being at risk.
Yeah.
So those three are by far most important aspects.
Fantastic, fantastic. Generally speaking, how long do license terms last? Are they in perpetuity? Are they for a set number of years? And what happens if a license expires?
The term is mostly in perpetuity, and it is fairly standard and it is granted. However, again, it costs.
Yeah.
as with everything, we come always back to that question. So if the term expires, let's say that you took a 3-year or 5-year term and the term is expired, you can't use the game commercially. So anything you wish to do with the game stops unless you find a way to remove the music from the game.
Yeah, and I think there's a good example of this which happened in Grand Theft Auto when the music rights expired and they had to remove all of the music from the radio stations and replace it with different music that they had a license to use. So it is something that we do see happen in the games industry as well.
Yeah.
So on balance, should developers be looking for one option over the other? So should they be trying to commission wherever possible or trying to license wherever possible? What's your view on that?
Well, there are plenty of possibilities and options on both ends. And I think that the developers should always be aware of the bigger picture. So you can go with a composer that can maybe give you all of the rights and create some really interesting music, and that can it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And you can also do the same on the licensing end. If you approach maybe some more independent, smaller labels and publishers, they will be happy to have their artists included in a game. So you can always find a good deal. It's just, keeping an open mind and not maybe insisting on something that is way beyond your budget.
Yeah, sounds good. And I suppose a certain amount of it goes to as well what you're seeking to do with the music in that game. There are some games that are famous for their original soundtracks, like the Final Fantasy series. I mean, you've got other games, the likes of Tony Hawk's and Guitar Hero, which are famous for the commercially licensed music in their games. So I suppose a lot of it comes down to that consideration as well.
And when you're asking for permission to use the music or hiring a composer to create brand new music for your project, you will have to share those details.
Yeah. And
they will obviously raise the price if they know that the music plays a big role. So it's all a little bit of a game of chess.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Sara. Please feel free to reach out to Sara or myself about any of the topics we discussed here today, or please visit the Wigan website for more information.